Hi, I'm Kevin Kennedy with the Kennedy Law Firm. I'd like to share with you a subject called wrongful death. You'll see it advertised many times on commercials and on billboards, and you'll see it on lawyers' buildings, their website, that they handle wrongful deaths. What does that really mean? So we ask the question, when someone, through their negligence, causes the death of another, and their negligence was the proximate cause of that death, then those persons become liable and they need to be compensated. You see, all of our law goes back to common law. That's from England, and that's where America gets its laws, from the common law. And it just makes sense that if someone were wronged to that extent, someone should compensate them for their loss. For instance, the biggest thing is the economic loss. There's a loss of companionship and love and affection from the family. Is that compensable? And of course, I say absolutely. And many times in these wrongful death cases, what you have is they're not killed immediately, but they have to linger and suffer for some period of time. And the pain and suffering and the agony, is that compensable? Yes, it is. And so all those factors go in. Now, when you talk about the economic loss, you take a young person, the younger they are, what does it matter? You'll hear the lawyers say, well, the guy was 70 years old. What is he really alluding to when there's a wrongful death and they're 70 years old? We have what's known as mortuary tables or length of life tables. And they say what a normal male would live, and you could multiply that by his income tax records, and you could multiply that by his health, and there his education, and make some projections of what his loss would be economically over the rest of his life. And so that's one part of the formula. What we have to do when we have a wrongful death is we need to get an economist. Now, that economist, I'll tell you again, they're always going to want to be paid. So when you hire a lawyer, you need to have a good understanding. It's been once said, a good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding. And so are you going to pay for any experts? Will you advance the cost? Because it's unbelievable. It's thousands and thousands. So many times, the family that's confronted with a wrongful death, they are economically challenged because they've lost the main person or the second main person in the household that was providing finances to keep the family up. Are those children entitled to monies to help compensate them to be raised and then even further educated? You know, that's what the lawyer would be arguing. And of course, when you have a wrongful death, what is the first thing? If they have insurance, the insurance companies will immediately try to do their investigation. Your lawyer should do his investigation. The next thing to evaluate is, what is the investigation? Let's just say, for instance, if that was a car wreck and they were killed, immediately try to get photos of that car. Immediately try to get photos of the action scene. I like to say I like a photo from the left and the right, the north and the south, the east and the west, from all directions, so that we can evaluate. Many times we draw charts and make posters of trying to show how the accident happened, and we reconstruct that. Many times when there is a death case, the city of Clarksville or the sheriff's department will bring out their fatal crash team. So they are measuring the tire marks, and if you wait too long, all that is erased. If you go and you look at the vehicle, one of the things that you may know or may not know, many of these vehicles have a little black box that you can plug in and receive the information. What kind of information? You can get information was the driver braking at the time of impact? How fast the driver was going at the time of impact? And skilled lawyers know the tricks of the trade. And all of these fatal crash teams, they've been highly trained and they understand. But again, just because the insurance company maintains there is not liability, your lawyer and his team can maintain there was. It makes a great jury question. Who is liable in this? And if they are, how much do they owe? So it gets down to insurance. I would tell you again, always have insurance. One of the questions you ought to ask, because you're trying to protect your family, is this: what are the limits of liability should we have an accident and someone were killed? Many times there may be 25,000 or 50,000. Maybe someone has 100, but many times people may go up to 500,000. And guess what? When you get the big companies, they have lots of insurance because they know that is a reality and a possibility that they're confronted with. And if a person were drinking or under the influence, well, that is negligence per se, where you can say they have been convicted of DUI. That was the proximate cause of this accident, and they should pay. And we have what's known as compensatory damage. That's to compensate the person for their loss or the family. And then we have punitive damages. When their negligence was so gross that it caused so much pain and ultimately death, then that is a significant factor in juries awarding damages, judges awarding damages, and the mediation. As I said before, probably 97 to 98 to 98% of all cases are settled. How does that happen? When two reasonable men, that would be lawyers and skilled professionals and their talented teams, have prepared the case and they come to a table of mediation, and here's the facts. This is what our economist says. This is what their economist says. We can come together, and rational and reasonable men, 99% of the time, come to a reasonable settlement, and it's settled. You know, Benjamin Franklin, who I always admired, he said, a lean compromise is better than a fat lawsuit. You've heard it said, no one really knows what a jury will do. And I've tried many jury trials, and I know that's true. Everybody wants to know, okay, Kevin, what is this case worth? I submit to you it's premature till we've completed the discovery and we're at that mediation table. I can evaluate it. The insurance company lawyers can evaluate it. And at the conclusion of the day, if we're representing them, the odds are great it will be settled and help the family. God bless you. Thank you for listening.